ladies and gentlemen, and all you alphabet people out there. Welcome to the Joe Blumen Show, where we discuss news, views, and a little bit of crap, and we upset people. That's basically the point of the whole show. So today we're gonna upset some American people. Oh, I'm South African and I'm allowed to talk crap about any other country, um, whether or not you like it or not. So I will be doing that. So the US South Korea staged joint air exercise after North Korea ICBM launch. The United States and South Korea held a combined air drill, including a strategic bomber. South Korea's military said Sunday, a day after North Korea launched an intercontinental ballistic missile into waters off Japan. I guess it's off Japan. What does that mean, firstly? Is it not on Japan? Is it inside of Japan's waters? Is it outside of Japan's waters? And why would they fire it towards Japan? I don't think they even. Yeah, I know there's some issues between China and Japan, and that comes. That is actually why the Chinese Communist Party is so successful. It's because they teach children the history of how Japan and the US attacked them and just basically destroyed them, and they rebuilt themselves. And that's where the pride comes from. That's how communism is grown in that country, rather than religions. So people need to stand together around one thing, and that one thing in communism at the moment in China is the hatred for Japan and America. And Donald Duck and Disney can try as much as they want to get in there. They will always be hated by my era and the older people. Younger people will probably be more open to looking into, the future with the Disneys and so on and so on, which we've now found out is, what do they call them? Minor attractive person. It sounds like Walt Disney was one of those. I just call them pedophiles. Yeah, I'm just going to take a sip there. Now, in South Africa, we went to war with the communists. The Russians were giving the ANC, which at that stage was which is still very much part of the ANC, the Communist Party, and Russia was giving them weapons to fight on the border, and this border war screwed up a lot of South African poor, especially poor and middle class, lower middle class people, because obviously your rich got off. They had all kinds of excuses and everything. Sorry, there's a fly around in my room. Now, I've had to deal with this. I've had uncles, aunts, aunts as well, that had to deal with people that came back from war, and beat the living crap out of them, you know. Um, so screwed up they end up living on the street. Now we have a word for it. It's called PST, post-traumatic stress disorder or something. And at that stage, they were just crazy. And yeah, but this is the problem. These kids were sent to go and fight a war against the communists, and that's what their government told them. The South African government, my old government, or my parents' old government, because I didn't really, I was too young to vote, so I didn't have a affiliation. But this government told these children that they are fighting for their country and they're fighting against communism, which was a lie, a big fat fucking lie, because a couple of years later they give the country to the communists, which is the ANC. And whether or not the ANC tries to hide it, or whether or not they, you know, it doesn't matter what narrative the ANC pushes, they are still a communist party. Let's call it let's not call it communist, let's call them a socialist party. They're giving out free houses and giving out free stuff, or you know, all these promises. But the problem with socialism is that at some stage other people's money dry up. So what do you do then? So we have 19 million people on grants. Our country has about 64 million people that we know of. That's without other African people that fled their countries to come and live here. Because we have no border anymore. They haven't even fixed it. They don't have it monitored. But they work harder than South African black people, to be dead honest. If I have to choose between a Zimbabwe and a South African black person, I would probably choose them, because and this is the reason, is Robert Mugabe doesn't matter how bad Robert Mugabe was, the leader of Zimbabwe. He did one thing right, and that is schooling and education. These people are educated. They are well educated. I mean, I had a local bar which I went to, and this bar, there was this guy and he was standing there watching over the cars, so working for tips, and he was a qualified teacher, which came over, and he was doing this illegally in South Africa, but he was still doing it. So I gave him a tip every time, and he started teaching me French, because he came from the French side of Zimbabwe. So it's not that I have anything against black people in South Africa. I'm explaining to you guys that they are different, and the Americans make all black people out to be the same, and it's not like that. It isn't like that. You get certain tribes that are shorter, like the Zulus. The Xhosas are a bit bigger. You look at your Nigerians, they're very tall and very, very muscular and very big. And then you look at your Zimbabweans, they're usually tall. If you get one that isn't tall, they're probably Xhosa from an area in Zimbabwe where there is Xhosas. So in other words, where I would be able to sit and talk to them and understand what country they come from just by looking at them, you won't be able to do that. You will see a black person I will see a black person from another country, and I will understand what what problems they have in their country, and what kind of person they would be. Boxed in, obviously, in a little, box, like we like putting people in. But so a lot of these countries were at war internally with each other, and in this war against the communists, we actually had a lot of black people that they were at war since they were kids, internally, and they didn't know what to do, and they came over and they were fighting with South Africa, but they weren't fighting for something. They were fighting because it's the only thing that they do and knew how to do. And that wasn't the case with our government. Our government at that stage told people that they are fighting for all freedom and they're fighting against communism. So governments lie, and the US government at the moment is the biggest liar in the world, and that is why you're seeing people breaking up away from the US. That's why you're seeing people starting to use other currencies rather than the US dollar, because it's been inflated. How can you print 1/3 of your currency and expect it to have the same sort of strength in the marketplace? One thing Putin did is he bought, I know I made a video about this years ago, and he bought up all the gold. So he's got oil, he's got gold, he's got resources that stabilizes his currency. America, what did they do? They stopped pumping oil, stopped drilling for oil. So they've got nothing. They've got an inflated currency, which means jack shit. They don't have anything behind it. It can go flat anytime. As soon as people stop trading within the US dollar, the currency will fall flat. So anybody thinking of joining the army in America, just think twice. That's all I'm saying. Just think twice. If you want to go out, you want to kill people, then that's probably the job for you, and then you should be doing it. If you think you're fighting for some other cause, you'll be bullshitting yourself.